All right, hello everyone.
Hi.
It's good to be back. Of course, we've been away for a little bit. I had some things that we had to take care of, and so we're back now, and it's really good to see all of you. So one thing we kind of thought we want to talk about, because we talk about a whole bunch of other stuff, which I think is cool, great. However, I think we would like to talk about our story. How did we begin? How did we even get to where we are today? It was quite a roller coaster ride. So, where it all began. Yeah.
Okay, so I guess we can start from the very first time that you even
From the very beginning.
Oh wow!
From the very beginning.
Okay, so we met technically in college. However, we didn't know each other in college. We had some of the same friend groups, ran in the same circles.
I saw her a couple of times, and I was like,
yeah, and I remember seeing you a couple of times too. But
she's so pretty.
we just never really connected for some reason.
Yeah, and I was dating anyway, so at that time.
Yeah, I was too. So we just never were in the same space, same place type of situation. So fast forward years later, after college, I'm in Chicago. He's in New Jersey at the time. And so I get a PM or DM, I guess, DM from James Bennett.
Yours truly.
And so when I had first seen it, I was like, who's this guy? I mean, I didn't know who he was, but I was familiar about who he was simply because, like I said, we technically met in college. So I was just like, yeah, but I thought he was still dating the girl he was dating in college at the time.
That was so long ago.
I thought he was still dating her. That's how far, removed we had been. So I'm like, why is he reaching out to me? And so it was my mother, actually. It was my mother who was like, because at the time I had just, I was going through my divorce at the time. And so I just wasn't in a space to even think about dating at that time. So I just, was trying to repair myself and, and I was just like, I don't ever want to get married again. I don't ever want to deal with any of that again. So I wasn't in a dating mindset.
Yeah.
But I was open to friendships though, but I just wasn't open to dating. So, my mom was like, well, he could just be a friend, you never know. So she encouraged me to reach back to him. And I think on the second day, because I didn't reach back to him the first day. On the second day, I responded back to him. And, I think he said something like, hi, how are you? Or something like that. And so I was, I'm like, hi, I'm fine. And so we just started talking and the conversation flowed effortlessly.
Yep.
And literally, I think since that day, we have not gone without talking since. Maybe one time, but it was just like, a whirlwind type of thing. But at the time, it was not a whirlwind because, again, this goes back to, I think, one of the segments we were talking about, friendships, being the foundation.
Yeah.
Literally, we were friends.
Yeah, we were just friends.
Nothing, no expectations. Neither one of us made mention or said anything. I don't even think at the time either one of us were really interested in dating.
Wasn't interested in that.
We just wanted a companionship, just friendship and companionship. And so, we offered that to each other because he was going through a breakup. I was going through a breakup. So it was just nice to just be with somebody, not be in the sense of, relationship, but just the platonic be. He understood where I was coming from. I understood where he was coming from. We were able to talk and connect about that.
Yeah.
And it felt very genuine. And so it wasn't until maybe months later, for me, he started to, be on my radar as far as liking.
Yeah.
He started to be on my radar. And I think it's because of, maybe about around that December-ish. Because I sent you, was it December, January?
Yeah, well, you sent popcorn. But before we get to that point, let me talk about my beginning part.
Yes, let's go to your beginning.
All right, so here's the deal, right? Same college. I saw this girl, I remember her because, it's true, it's ironic, we were always around a lot of the same circles. I didn't know this at the time because I never really saw her like that. You know, we were it was away. You know, we were out of state, so it was a campus where you had your dorms, and it's an HBCU that we went to. One of the best experiences of my life. Be that as it may, you know, we were always around, you know, a lot of the same friends, but I never saw her really like that. You know, she was in the choir one time, and
we're in the same choir.
We were in the same choir. And
did not talk.
Yeah, we didn't talk. I just remember I saw her one time, and I was like, oh man, this girl looked she's looking kind of nice, you know? Kind of nice.
Check the shirt.
Yeah, you see this? This is really what it was.
That's what makes it funny.
I wasn't the only one talking.
Oh my god.
We're gonna leave it at that. Be that as it, you know, that it may be though. So it was weird, you know, she was around same circles, but again, I never really saw her like that, didn't really know her enough like that, but I remember her being in one of my English classes. You were in one of my English classes. You know,
I don't remember that.
It's weird because it was like, all right, we never talked, like I said, but I remember on our first day of orientation, one of the teachers ironically was like, I don't want to hear or see anybody with their cell phone. And as soon as she said that, her phone went off. And I was like, dude. At the time, I'm like, this girl is not serious with life.
I didn't know my phone was on.
I was just looking like, what is your problem?
And that teacher was interesting. She was an interesting teacher.
Yeah, I remember that. That's all I really remember of you as it relates to us being in the same class like that. So, years pass. I'm out of that school, you know, transferred to a different one. But I was dating somebody, you know, we were dating for some time, for a long time actually. And what ended up happening was I had, you know, asked her father for for her hand in marriage because we were pretty serious. So I thought, you know, at the time, which I believe we were, great person either way. But that at the time, I guess the person didn't feel like they were good for me. So they ended up breaking up with me, and it hurt a lot because the communication instantly just stopped. So imagine you're dating somebody for a long time, and then suddenly, cold turkey, just stop. You know, so that obviously will put you through a whirlwind of emotions, and you know, I was angry, you know, I was sad, I was hurt, heartbroken. I thought this person was going to be my wife, you know, but it didn't turn out the way that it was. And so for a while, what I did was, after months of crying, because trust me, I was messed up for a while.
You were heartbroken.
Yeah, I was heartbroken, you know. But with that being said, though, after some time passed, you know, I'm like, look, I just simply want somebody to talk to, you know, just to kind of just companionship, you know, just that's really what I wanted, was just companionship, like somebody just to talk to just be real with, just be me with, you know, not even worry about, you know, anything. And so what was funny was, you know, there were a couple of friends that I had, and they were cool, you know, but they were more along the lines of, you need to get over this person, you know, you just got to get over it, you know, just, you know, because that was, you know, the idea, you know. So I started, just trying to get over it. And, you know, in doing that, you're not really being real with yourself. I think the biggest mistake that some people make is in trying to heal yourself so fast, you pretend like you're over it.
When you're not, like, actively going through the emotions,
yeah,
filling it up. You're
not healing yourself. You're not allowing yourself to feel the feelings that you have.
And those are learning moments.
Those are learning moments.
You can learn through that too.
And so, we'll get further into it a little bit later, but it all ties in. And that was, you know, because some of these friends that I had, you know, I was like, oh, okay, you know, this person is interesting as it relates to probably dating and stuff like that. They're a potential good person, this, that, and the other, whatever. But they were just like, you need to just get over it, you know. Didn't allow for me to go through the feelings that I was going through. And so I'm reaching out randomly to people on Facebook. I'm like, all right, cool. I got all these friends on Facebook, you know, and I'm like, okay, cool. So if we're supposed to be friends on Facebook, how I saw it, then that means that we should be able to talk. What's the point of being friends on Facebook if we're not going to have a conversation, if we're not going to talk? So around that time, I started reaching out to a whole bunch of people. I'm like, hey, what's up? How you doing? You know, it's been a minute. Good to talk to you. This, that, and the third. And they ain't reply. I'm like, delete. I started deleting everybody. I probably deleted at least 300, 400 people.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, close to like 300, 400
I
people.
never realized it was that much.
It was a lot of people I went through, you know, primarily girls. Because that's what
I would hope if you're reaching out. I would hope.
And so anyway, and it might also be because when I was, you have to understand, when I was in college, I studied theology. Actually, I studied theology, family consumer science, and physical therapy. It wasn't the smartest thing, but most of what I did again was in theology. So I had a certain type of demeanor, perhaps, that might have appeared very serious to a lot of people, and so a lot of people didn't really get that chance to know who I was.
I thought that you were very reserved.
She thought I was that.
What I'd known of him, because like I said, we didn't really, I don't even think we had a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
So, but from what I could, observe, you just seemed very reserved.
I was, and the reason, and that was because of how my high school experience was. The problem with, and during my high school experience, I was always, a lot of women and girls didn't really take me seriously, so I was kind of made fun of. I was always considered the corny kid, so to speak, the kind of guy, it's like,
So you had to become, you felt like you had to become more reserved.
I had to become more reserved as a way to protect
be taken
myself,
seriously.
to be taken seriously. I felt like going to college was kind of like a relief for me, and so that's what my persona became. And I appreciated it because it did, put away or do away with a lot of the issues I thought or suspected I would have when I was back in high school. But at the same time, I guess it did kind of close me off to perhaps opportunities of meeting other people. And one of my biggest fears were talking to girls. It's always been a problem. I've never been the guy to just go up and talk to a girl if I was interested. Never have been, because that just wasn't of my past experiences. We'll learn about that in a whole new video. But anyway, fast forward. I'm meeting all these people, talking to all these people, all these girls on Facebook. They're not going over and they're not talking to me, and all of a sudden, so I'm like, all right, well, whatever. Let's go ahead and delete them all. I don't need them. I get over to Jendai, and I'm like, this girl, okay, I remember her. You know what? Let me go talk. Hey, what's up? How you doing? It's been a while. And she did not answer me. So I was getting ready to delete her. But what ended up happening was I happened to see our past communication history, and it showed that we actually talked a little bit before that, and she actually seemed cool. And so it was only because of that I was like, you know what, instead of me immediately deleting her, I'm going to go ahead and wait a couple of days.
And mind you, I don't even remember these conversations really, but I'm just a nice person. So I think because I was nice, that's
the only reason why. I was, because everybody else is like, hey, what's up? How you doing? Yeah, I'm fine. Okay, well, how was your summer? Yeah. It was good.
I'll talk to anybody. Like, anyone talks to me, I'll talk to them. So I think that's kind of what led everything.
She was the only one of the few, I'll say, who actually dialogue. Dialogue for me is very important, because, that's how you get to talk to people, I don't believe in just trying to impress somebody. I don't care. I'm not going to impress you. I actually want to see what you're about. Like, let's talk about just stuff or whatever. And so she gave me that chance. So I was going to say, it's so funny because I looked at her on Facebook once and I was like, this girl from Chicago.
And you know, it's crazy. He said that in a room full of my relatives.
During our wedding.
That was from Chicago. He was about to get jumped and he didn't even know it. How dare you?
Well, you know, it's true, but you know.
Good things happen in Chicago.
You're right. You're right. So I have some other underhanded comments, but I'm gonna leave that alone.
Oh, whatever.
But anyway, I was like, this girl, look at her, man. It's from Chicago. She probably, you know, this. Oh no. You know,
You really tried.
But whatever, and, you know,
Really
and so, but it was funny because something in my head was like, "That's gonna be your wife," and I'm like, "You tripping right now? You know, you're just getting off or breaking up in a relationship. You're just trying to, you're just hyping yourself up for no reason. That's what it was."
And something told him in his head during that time that this is your wife. Something, when I was going through his pictures, something told me too that that's your husband. And I'm like, husband, we did that already. We're not doing this again. But something, which we believe is the Holy Spirit, you know, was telling us like, that's your husband, that's your wife. Yeah. So it was
crazy because it was just really random.
It was like, so random. This was before us.
Yeah.
This was beyond us. I mean, this was beyond us.
It really is. And so, anyway, the day that I was getting ready to delete her, because I waited, you know, 2 days. And I was like, on the second day, I was literally getting ready to go back through my list of people who I had given a second chance to, all this other stuff. And I was getting ready to delete her when all of a sudden I saw that she replied. And I was like, oh, shoot. All right, cool. She replied. And like literally when we were talking or whatnot, you know, I was just like, man, you know, we were just talking. And I guess at that time I just didn't care anymore. I didn't have any trying to impress anybody anymore.
And you weren't trying to like talk to me.
I wasn't trying to talk to you. And I was just like, look, man, I just wanted somebody to talk to because I just, you know, the person I was dating broke up with me. And I'm just heartbroken. And I just don't have nobody to talk to.
And then that's when he slid his number in there. Like, if you want to continue this conversation.
It wasn't immediately like that. We actually talked for a while.
No,
we had a lot of good.
It was a while. Well, no, it was the same day, I thought.
No, okay, so what I mean by talking for a while is within that same day, we actually had a long conversation.
Yeah, it was a dialogue.
We were talking for a long time. We really opened up quite a lot. She started expressing certain things to me too. So when it was time, because it was like we were talking for like all late until the night, you know, and this is Facebook, you know.
Yeah,
so,
we were going back and forth most of the day. Because I responded to you in the afternoon, I think. And we spoke like most of the day.
Yeah. And literally from that day till now, we have talked every single day. Not one day have we.
Except for once. When I went to the Bahamas.
Oh yeah, she went to the Bahamas.
I went on a girls' trip to the Bahamas, and I didn't have a reception for one day. But that was the only day I recall, and that was a hard day, I think, for the both of us.
Rough, you know. But I remember I would cry on the phone with her. You know, I was crying. I was talking about how I loved, you know, the person I dated before. You know, I still have that love for that person. You know, that was something that, you know, when you love somebody, that's something that doesn't dissipate. It just doesn't go away.
It changes. You're not in love with them.
Yeah, you know.
It doesn't change the love that you have for that person. You care for them, and you always will.
Yeah, because you go through years. We were dating for years. I think it was close to like 5 years we were dating. That doesn't just go away. You know, you have all these experiences. And so, and it's like a death when you break up, you know, and you don't have the conversations that you know, had before, you know.
And I think I was able to be more helpful in that instance because I was a little further along in my grief and my disappointment. I was a little further along at that point. So I had been going through it for a while at that point. So I think I was able to help, you know, kind of, you know, pull him. We helped each other, really. But it helped him in that space that he was in because I was a little bit further along. In my breakup.
Yeah, that's true. You know, that's very, very true. You know, and the thing is, I did not mention, but during the period in time when I had spoken with Jendai, I was also you know, I was interested in other girls, you know, as well, you know, whether it was from church or whether it was from other, just trying to see what my options were, you know, just trying to see what was up, you know, and it was one of those things where I just wasn't, I guess, seen as, it was weird. It was like not seen as taken like serious or taken seriously, I guess.
So you went back to girls not taking you seriously?
Yeah, I think that is what it was, because there were a couple of people where I was like, well, you know, let's try to go on a date, you know, and see what was up, and either it was, it just didn't work out, you know, and so, yeah, it was
and
just,
I was dating too.
Yeah, she was dating too,
We were
you know,
dating,
and we were just talking
trying to see what our options were, because we were still friends at that point. At that time, we didn't even establish that there was any sort of connection between us. It was just platonic.
At that point platonic. She was still helping me, and I worked nights at that time, you know, 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. every day, you know, and so when I'm getting off work, she's getting ready to go to work, you know, and she's coming off, I'm getting ready to go to work, you know.
Yeah, so we had a lot of talking time.
It was like around 3 in the morning, you know, that's when it used to be my lunchtime, which was so weird back then. Wow, man. But anyway, what was so crazy was, I think I started to realize, I put Jendai in a tier. So it was like, I had tiers where it was like, all right, so these are the girls I'm interested in. This is level 1, level 2, level 3. And then on level 4, over the whole umbrella or the standard was Jendai. And so I'm like, all right, this is who I find. Like, she's beautiful. I can actually talk to her about anything and everything, you know, and you know, we actually really vibe. And it was like, there were a couple of other girls who, they were cool with me or whatever, but when I tried to express myself to them, still with how I felt towards my ex, and at that time, mind you, at this point in time, because some time passed, at this point in time, it wasn't a matter of me wanting necessarily to be with my ex anymore. It was still just a matter of me working through those days and time, you know, when things happen, because, you know, you would think that, you know, if you're, I like to date, I have the idea where it's like, okay, I believe that the person you want to be with is your best friend. And if you're with your best friend,
a good foundation is friendship.
A good foundation is friendship. You can talk about anything.
Because no matter what, you can always go back to the friendship.
Yeah, there's nothing to hide. You're completely vulnerable. You're just being you. Communication is better. You know, and so it was kind of like, all right, cool, you know, hey girl, I had these feelings, I have these thoughts, and all I got was, you need to get over that already. We ain't going nowhere until you get over that. And it was like, okay, well, I mean,
they didn't allow you to have the space that you needed to go through your healing process.
Yeah, exactly. Because I was actually interested in them. I wasn't worried about it. And I think the problem and the mistake that sometimes people make, and I get it, I truly understand it, you know, but I think the problem that some people make is they don't allow for you to have that space to still work in your own emotions and still be at the same time like, look, I want to be with you. I just have these thoughts I'm trying to work with. I'm trying to tell you what these thoughts are. And instead of it being like you're helping me to kind of like work through that in my mind, you're just like, nope, we're not doing none of that. You just need to get over that person. I'm going to leave you alone. And, you know, and she didn't do that, you know, Jendai, and that was what was so, like, so cool for me. You know, so now we're both caught up.
Okay, so after the talking for, you know, extended period of time, I think I again, like him, I had a tier as well type of thing where it's like, you know, when you date, you're supposed to date with purpose, meaning like, you know, go in knowing that, okay, this is what I like, this is what I don't like, and if I don't like something, then, you know, we can be friends or we move on, whatever. That's my dating process, if I'm dating with purpose. But let's be clear, at the time, I was just dating to have fun. I was not dating for a purpose.
Man, I was about to be the biggest hoe out there. I was like, I'm tired of being the nice guy.
Oh my God.
Nice guys,
they finish. So I was dating I wasn't dating with a purpose to get married. I was dating to, just see what my options were or whatever. So, but the marriage thing just wasn't, it wasn't in my forefront initially. But, the conversation and the connection that we had, he just kind of skyrocketed for me to like a top tier. It was like him and one other person that was kind of in the top tier. So I was, kind of interested. That's kind of where I was. And so I remember I had sent him a thing of popcorn for Christmas. Yeah. I can't remember if it was in December or January.
It was December because I was having
he was having a very bad day that day. And I just happened to I sent it to you like a couple of days prior, but it had got there on the day that he was having a really, really bad day. And it's the famous popcorn from Chicago. Yeah. Everyone from Chicago know what that is. And so I sent it to him and he really enjoyed it. And I think that was a turning point.
That was the time when I said that's when I started to at that point realize, I was like, man, you're the one I actually kind of want to be with. Mm-hmm. I'm really interested. At that point I saw her and I was like, man, she actually is. She's the one I want to be with. I actually really like her because all the other girls I was interested in, were not at the level at what she was. She was mature. She was very attractive, very intelligent. And you were also very open to just having, genuine conversation and connection. That was something that you don't really see much of, and so that was, you weren't surface. And a lot of girls, for my opinion, at that time, were very surface. And so you heard me mention, I was like, oh, well, I was about to be, out there because I really was, it was kind of like this idea where I kept feeling like I was just getting shot down and all the guys I see getting all the attention are guys who are, doing all kinds of stuff. So I was like, now I get it. Now I understand why, guys, nice guys end up being, no, not last, but being bad, turning bad. Yeah. Because of how, you try to give certain, you try to give the best that you can. And when you do that, at least at the time, people do not reciprocate it in the same way that you perhaps would have expected it. And I think that a lot of guys who may share my type of history would understand that, better than probably someone who may not have had the experiences that maybe I have gone through. But with that being said, I'm glad I never got it. I'm glad I didn't go that direction because, Jendai, she was amazing, and I had a lot of girls, as much as I was still talking to her, I wanted to make sure that, those, that she was the one. So I was still talking to these other girls, and as I'm talking to these other girls, I'm like, all right, she's cool, she's pretty, but is there anything more?
Yeah, it was like the both of us. And so fast forward to months later, he actually, because I was out of town, and I had happened to, we were just talking, and he was like, so when you get home, give me a call or whatever, because I was getting ready to get on the road to go out of town, to go back home from out of town. Mm-hmm. And he was like, just give me a call when you get home. And I'm like, is everything okay? He's like, I just want to ask you something. And I'm like, now it's in my mind, I'm like, what does he want to ask me? And so I'm like, okay. So then I get home and I call him, and then he's like, so I just wanted to, he always hates how I'm mimicking but it was cute because that's how he was. It was really cute because he was like, I just wanted to, he was kind of stuttering and, over his words and stuff because he was nervous. He told me later he was nervous.
I was nervous. And so I've never been good at, just talking to a girl directly. Up until now, up until this point, Now I'm like, yo, what's up?
Oh God, that's his I'm cool. That's his I'm cool line.
I know what I want now.
Oh gosh. Anyway, so he's like, I wanted to know if you could be my girlfriend. And I'm like, oh yes, because at that point we kind of both knew, like, this is going that direction.
It was going that direction.
Although that was the unofficial. That was his unofficial, because remember, he's still, at that point, we were still long distance. We hadn't physically seen each other at that point.
She's in Chicago, I'm in Jersey.
Yeah, we had no. By this time I was in Huntsville.
Okay, yeah.
By this time I had moved to Huntsville. So I had moved at this point. So so we hadn't seen each other. And so he was like, well, this is, and we were setting up time, because you asked me a few weeks before he actually came. So that was his unofficial asking me to be his girlfriend, because I guess he wanted to solidify his spot.
Yeah, let's put a pin in that one right quick. Hold on. So
oh, God.
Here's what happened with that, right? I knew that she was talking to other guys. And that's fine, because, I mean, I get it, you interested in other people, I'm interested in other people, we ain't official, nothing like that's going on, and, so there was this guy that, was interested in her, and she was interested in him too, and I get it, I understand, the dude is cool dude, looking good, as well, and she's beautiful woman looking good, and he's like, hey, let me go ahead and pay a trip for you to go somewhere, and man, I saw.
No, he don't even. First of all, let's be clear. I said.
She said
I was going
to visit
a friend.
A friend. Now.
A friend.
Now, listen here.
And he took that.
Guys or ladies and guys, let me tell you this. When you're talking to your person, right, and they are like, "Hey, I'm gonna visit my friend." Usually they're going to call a name, right? Hey, I'm going to go visit, Casey or whatever, some name. Most times they'll be like, hey, let's get ready to go see Courtney. I'm getting ready to go. I'll be back, this, that, and the other, right? But when they're like, hey, yeah, I'm going to get ready to go see a friend. Now you're going to be like, a friend, huh? What kind of friend? But I didn't ask that to her. I already knew when she said, I'm going to go see a friend. I already knew at that point she was talking about a guy, so I was like, all right.
So at that point, he was trying to make sure he solidified his spot.
We're going to make this.
Because him and the other guy, because I hadn't seen the other guy at that point.
Yeah, so, she hasn't seen it.
But but he wanted to solidify that before anything became
I was like,
that. He was trying to stop that thing.
We're going to make this real clear right now. And so, hey, can you please be my
yes. And I think that's exactly how he sounded when he did it. All right,
girlfriend. Anyway.
So anyway.
But that wasn't it, though. That wasn't it. So check this, right? While that is true, I had my own thing going on. So there was this girl.
Oh gosh, let's not get into that. But he had his own situations going on. I had.
Let's just put it this way. I knew that Jendai was the one after that experience.
Yes. So with that being said, so we decided, that was the unofficial, like, okay, yeah, we're, committed. And so then he came down some weeks later. Mm-hmm. We had our first date. Mm-hmm.
And I was looking bad, by the way.
Oh, yes. Let's talk about it.
We got to throw that in there because, that was a part of who I was.
That was. At the time, I consider myself a trendy dresser, pretty stylish.
And I'm not.
And no. He's come a long way. Very long way. But all I remember, wait, no, you did, like, when it comes to
dressing up,
yes, when he dresses up, he dresses up, but it's the casual, it's the casual thing that was just like, woo, child. Yeah. But, because when we went to church, he had on a nice little slim fit suit, like, it was really nice, so I'm like, okay, so my expectations are high at that point, because he set the bar.
Yeah.
But then when we got ready to go on our dates, he was wearing some flooded pants. They were flooded. Oh, Lord, they were flooded. He was wearing this muscle shirt.
Yeah, it was muscle shirt.
It was like a muscle shirt with some flooded pants.
I wish you could see the picture.
So, I really should have took a picture for memorabilia.
Memorabilia, yeah.
Yes, sake. Because, man, and some white shoes. It was just bad. It was all bad. And I was like, we literally went to We did the walk at the we did the walk at the park earlier when we went on because we went to like dinner and a movie later on that evening. When we went to dinner, but before we went to we had a little time because the place that we went to, it was at a mall, so we had a little time before the dinner. So that's when I suggested nicely, I was like, let's go to H&M, and because he did express to me before that he was in a place to
I was open to
reinvent.
being.
He wanted to reinvent his style. He was curious, and he was like, I don't know where to start, and I want to reinvent it. So I thought that was a good time at that point to kind of, help him. And he had to come up out of those pants because it was just too much. It was a little too much for me. I was like, okay, we gotta fix this. So we went to H&M. We found him some really nice outfits. We had a little mini modeling session.
Yeah, that was nice.
And so we started to try to, get his style, see what he liked, what he didn't like, and all that stuff. And when we left out, he had some really nice pieces. And so he was able, and I think he wore one of them out, I think he wore one of the outfits that we chose.
So, and let's put a pin in that, because I do think that this is very important, at least from a guy's perspective. The thing is that a lot of women did not give me the chance because they simply wanted what I consider a microwaved relationship.
They
wanted everything in one package at one time, not considering that they themselves may also have had and needed to work on themselves that I could have assisted with. But the thing is, they discounted or threw out the baby with the bathwater. And I think that it's very important to, as a lady, or as a guy for that matter, because there are wonderful women out there too who guys will overlook. Just like there are
a few things
they may not be looking like how some other people look, and looks aren't everything, but but it is important, and so we understand that. But I think, and that was one of the reasons why I was told when I was broken up I didn't have swag, and I was like, what the hell? But what is that? But what I will say is, when you give, if you see that there is someone who have the qualities to be a great individual because they want to provide for you, they want to love you like you deserve, and they want to even have a family if you so choose to want to have that, I think it's important to take that opportunity to look at that individual, see what lines up as far as good qualities versus qualities that are not so good. And then see if you're able to work those things out together. And that's what you did. You took that chance and said, well, look, man, you don't look nice. I didn't look good. And I admit that, and that's cool. But
I didn't badger him about it.
Yeah, she didn't badger me about it at all. She was just like, hey, you want to go to the H&M with me right quick? Hey, check these things out. Check these pants out. Check this shirt out.
And I was like,
and I was open, because the thing is, it's more than it can't be one sided. It couldn't have been like you wanted me to.
Like I was forcing.
And I'm like, I don't want to be that, or I don't want to look that way, But I was open. I was like, hey man, show me what it is.
And I wasn't changing who he was.
Yeah, you're not changing.
He was already in a space to want to make changes. He just didn't know where to start. And me understanding that, I'm like, okay, well, let's go on this journey together. Let's see what that looks like now, because you are open. And he expressed this to me before we even went shopping. He expressed to me that he was open to wanting to, upgrade and change his style.
Yeah.
So we did that. We went to dinner and movie. We had a lot of fun while he was there. And that kind of, he officially asked me, like in person, because, dates went well, everything went well, so he officially asked me, and then we were committed. And so fast forward months later, it was interesting because this was a very peculiar time in my life, specifically because I had just gone through a divorce, and shortly after, I moved to restart my life all over again, and then shortly after I found out my mom was terminally sick. So it was a very, very peculiar time, and a very trying time, because, I don't think anyone plans to say goodbye to their parents, like, especially as young as I was. I was barely in my, late 20s at that time. So it's like, I don't think anyone can prepare for that. But in that, it was so refreshing to have him to really, you know, be a rock for me in that moment, because that was tough. That was so difficult for me. And the thing about it wasn't like I was right there. You know, I was away, and I literally spent weekends. Every
weekend she would fly out.
I was going back and forth to, you know, Chicago. I was going back and forth, like every weekend. I was so tired. Like one time I remember I was standing in the airport. I fell asleep standing up because I was working full time at that point. And, you know, and then I would go and see him sometimes, or he'll come and see me, and you know, and then going home. It was just like, and then working a full-time job, you know, and I was in the middle of my career at that point. And so it was just, you know, really, really, really tough. It was a very tough time. And so he was really my rock through all of that, and it was very comforting to know, because, you know, that really determines, for me, your character in that moment really determined that I knew that you were going to be my husband, because in those tough moments, you want to make sure that you have that solid person with you that's going to weather, you know, those storms, because not everybody is going to sit there and listen to you cry, you know, and try to comfort you or try to be there for you. And not every person is going to, you know, do that. So it was really nice. And my mom loved him.
Yeah.
She loved him.
Yeah.
She did. Yeah. She told me. She was like, he's the one, Jendai. She did. She told me he's the one. And so she left this world. Yeah. She left this world feeling very comfortable with knowing that I was in good hands.
Yep. And she talked to me.
Felt very comfortable.
And she, you know, she told me, and I promised her I was going to stand by you and to, you know, love you and protect you until, you know, I die, you know, until, you know, old age and, you know, long, you know, hopefully forever. But, you know, with that being said, it was interesting because, well, what happened, it was interesting because while most of that was, while Jendai was handling a lot of that and I was encouraging her, then randomly my grandfather had gotten, he didn't get sick.
No, he didn't even get sick.
He didn't get sick. He went through a routine, you know, surgery.
That didn't fare well.
There were some issues that happened. And he just, you know.
And that was a month before my mom passed.
A month before. Yeah. So, yeah. And
months before we got married.
Literally months before we got married. You know, like about 3 or 4. And my grandfather was supposed to be the one to do our wedding. He was supposed to officiate our wedding. But unfortunately, it didn't work out. He died 3 or 4 months before I got married. We got married, and then her mom passed 3 months before we got married. And that was a hard time. But what I will say is prior to that, let's talk about the proposal, you know, before we get to that. Because,
well, okay, so we were supposed to, my mom wanted to be a part of the wedding.
Yeah.
So we wanted to make provision for her to be a part of the wedding, because we didn't know how much time she had left. Unfortunately, she couldn't, you know, hold on until then, but she was able to help us plan it. So she was a part of it, you know, even still.
Yeah. And she bought me some cologne that to this day I still have.
Yeah,
I refuse
to like wear
to use it.
I told him, like, you can wear it in increments, but he's like, no.
I refuse.
It's like a shrine.
Yeah, that's the last gift that she's given me. Yeah. I'll never wear it.
So we had decided that we were going to get married, just, you know, so that mommy can be a part of it. So there was no official proposal initially. Yeah. We were already in the planning the wedding and all of that, because we were trying to make sure that she was going to be a part of it. So I was willing. I didn't know I wanted a proposal, because my first marriage, a lot of that stuff didn't happen the way that I would have liked. So I'm a traditional girl in that sense. I wanted that grand gesture. I wanted the ring. I wanted the proposal. I wanted the line, so to speak. So, you know, I wanted all that. And so he did too. But I was willing to wait until the altar. I was willing to forego the proposal, you know, just so that my mom could be a part of the day. And I was willing to wait till we got to the altar to even get a ring. Like, yeah. I was so willing to do that.
I wasn't. I just couldn't. I understood that because she told me that. She was like, yeah, you know, it's fine, you know. But I could hear kind of like the disappointment. Like, it's not even that I don't think you were even intentionally trying to come across as disappointed.
There was just so much going on.
But it was a lot going on.
That was literally one of the things that I pushed to the back because it was just so much going on at that time that it was just like, whatever.
Yeah. And so, but for me, I always wanted to propose. Regardless, I felt like that was my dream to propose, and so I was like, nope, I'm going. I went along with the idea, as in like I pretended like I was going to be like, that's okay, whatever, you know, we're gonna, you know, just do what we're gonna do or whatever. But really, I intended to go and buy a ring. So at that time, we came to the determination that I was going to leave Jersey and go to Alabama. It made more sense in the long run to why I went there. You know, it just made more sense, and I've been in Jersey my entire life. So it was just time to do something different. You know, but I was like, all right, so you know, I got laid off from work,
and that also determined because at the time my career was stable.
Yeah, her career was stable. I initially wanted her to come to Jersey. That was the original plan, but it didn't work out that way because I got laid off. And so when I got laid off, I still had my rent that I had to pay, you know, and all this other stuff, you know. But
he took his last.
I took my very last paycheck
and went and got a ring.
And
he didn't even see. I didn't even know because had I known that, I'd be like, "What are you doing? No, you could save that. Mm-hmm. I'll get a ring later." Because he had a job interview. In Huntsville. Yeah. So like literally right after he got laid off, like a few weeks later, I think you started applying, and he got a job interview in Huntsville.
And mind you, I was going off of my savings for a while already, and I knew that I was just getting ready to not be able to manage with that and moving at the same time. So I was like, you know what? No, this is what I want. This is what I needed to get. I know what kind of ring she already wants, you know, and all of that stuff or whatever. So I just went over, you know, and I ate the bullet, man. I got that ring, you know, and then
that was so like after the
before
fact.
That though, I took the ring over to a friend of mine, you know, because and I was like, this is what I got, and she was like, that's nice, you know.
it was a good ring. It was
literally that day. After that started to, you know, pack up all my stuff in my apartment, you know, and as soon as I was done, that was a whole day.
Which I was annoyed at too, because no, that was after the fact. No. So you're speeding through it. So what happened was, because remember, you were still in Jersey. You bought the ring. He was coming down for the interview.
Oh, you're right.
Yes. He was coming down for the interview, and we had decided to use a friend of ours to do engagement pictures. Because we were like, okay, well, at least we can do an engagement pictures. This is not, you know, the traditional thing we wanted, but hey, we can at least still do engagement pictures and, you know, for announcements and all that good stuff. So, so that morning, and by the way, one of my best friends and roommate at the time, she was in on it, had no idea. I should have known.
Tell them how I did the proposal, the original with the public.
Oh yeah, I forgot all about that. Yep. So he told me the day it was okay. So he did some sort of puzzle or something when he was gonna propose to me. I can't even fully remember, but he kind of messed it up.
Cryptograms, essentially.
Yeah, but he messed it up though because he messed up one of the numbers. Because my friend, she is like a guru with that stuff, and she figured it out. But she was like, "No, this can't be right."
They're like puzzles like this. All they do is they give you like a bunch of random letters, but you have to figure out what the passage is, what the quote is. It's fun, and so I was like, well, you know what? Let me go ahead and do that because I was hoping you wouldn't figure it out.
Yeah, you were. I mean, I started to figure out the first half of it. She figured out the second half, but it was wrong. That's what made it. That's the only thing that was a saving grace because he did it wrong. So it was. So that was like the saving grace for him essentially. So that was that portion. So.
But she called me. That's what happened. She was like,
"Oh, that's
she
how
called
you
me.
got
She
her
was
involved."
like, yeah. She was like, hey, James, is this what you really meant to say?
Because it was wrong. It was wrong. We were like, what? This is wrong.
I was like, yeah. That's what that was. That's what that meant. That's what that was supposed to be. Anyway, continue.
And so I guess that's when y'all got in cahoots or whatever.
Yeah.
Because she was up early that morning. And I mean, sometimes she gets up early that morning, but I'm like, what you doing today? Nothing. I'm like, okay, girl. Like, what you, okay. Like, she was off-putting, I guess, to throw me off her scent that she was a part of this little thing. And so I'm like, okay, girl, whatever. And so, and then I come back and he's getting dressed. And so he's wearing this jacket.
Yeah.
And the thing is, it's 80. It's like, because this is the springtime in the
Alabama,
South.
It gets hot real fast.
It's the springtime in the South. And it's literally in the spring transitioning over to summer. So it's hot. It's like 80-some degrees. And I'm like, why are you? I'm like, baby, you don't have to wear the jacket. It's hot. And he's like, no. I need to wear this jacket. It was like he was so attached to the jacket. And
That's
I'm
because
like,
my ring was in my pocket.
yeah. And he didn't want the ring to show through his pants pocket. So I'm like, I didn't. So I'm like, okay, whatever. Like, if you are stuck on this jacket, we're doing the jacket. So we decided to do the photo shoot at the first place that we had our date. We took a walk in this park that was like in downtown Huntsville, and we sat and talked on this bench under this tree for hours. And so, but we decided to do our photo shoot at the same place that that we had our.
It was
first date.
sentimental.
Yeah, it was our first date, and it just was of sentimental value. So, we went there. So when we get there, my friends are there. And so at this time, he wanted our families to be there, but unfortunately, with you just losing your grandfather, me just losing my mom. Wait, was my mom still alive at this point?
No, well, this was within April. May, yeah. So we did. Yeah, we just lost.
Yeah, we had just lost. Yeah,
because I couldn't make it. I couldn't make it because to the funeral. I wanted to so bad, but I lost my job. It
was just a lot that happened in that time. But yeah, so during that time, it was just a lot going on. So our families couldn't necessarily be there during that time.
But you know what part we forgot all about? When my sister got married.
All right. Yeah. Well. Oh, is that when you first?
Because
that's when he first knew.
That's when I knew that she was going to be my wife.
Yeah.
Like literally, like my sister was getting married, and she's walking down the aisle, and I'm sobbing like.
He's like, boo-hooing.
I am crying.
I was like, you better cry when we get married, because the way he's boo-hooing right now.
I was crying and everything. I just saw her, Jendai, and I was like, this woman, you're gonna be my wife.
So that was the moment he discovered.
I knew she was gonna be my wife.
That we were 100%. Gonna be. So we get there we're there at the park and we're taking the pictures and everything. My friends are there. I noticed them there, and I'm like, oh, hi guys. And the reason why that works, because we have some of the same friends. So they just pop up, so that wasn't alarming that they would pop up, you know what I mean? That's kind of like whatever. So I'm like, okay, so what?
I was about to say, I didn't know that was what she was thinking. I thought that they ruined the surprise by just showing
they always
up.
Pop up.
I didn't know that. So I am so sorry, because I was like, don't.
No, see, I didn't know.
I was trying my hardest. I was trying to do it under my breath. Like,
go away.
Like, what are you doing? But it makes so much sense now.
Yeah, you see, I didn't see an alarm when they pop. My friends pop
Man.
up, like they will pop up in a heartbeat. So I'm not.
They probably didn't even notice I was doing that. Maybe it was just in my head.
Yeah, I'm like it wasn't alarming for me. Now, if they did it, if that wasn't in their nature before, and then they did it, then that would have been more alarming.
Yeah.
But we do that. We pop up on each other. That's whatever. But so all of a sudden, our friend that's doing the photo shoot, we're by the bench that we, sat and talked for hours. And so all of a sudden he turned to James and he's like, James, give a speech.
And I'm like, a speech?
And I'm confused. I'm like, what speech? What are we doing? I'm sitting here like, what's happening? And it still's not clicking to me that this is happening because I'm confused.
Until a couple of seconds later.
I'm confused. And I'm like, what's happening? And so then that's when it clicked to him like, oh, this is my cue.
This is the time, yeah. Because I had asked him to let me know when. It just didn't register in my mind that was the moment that
was the moment. And so then all of a sudden, James just starts talking. I don't remember much of what he said. It really just felt like a whirlwind type of situation. So I really didn't hear much of what he said, but I'm pretty sure it was more like him telling me all the good things, like, this is what I love you, and this, that, and the other, blah, blah, blah. And next thing I knew, he was on that knee with the ring. And my friend is just splashing away, and I'm over here like, what is happening?
Yeah.
Is this happening? So we have a picture, actually, with our actual, like with my actual response and him actually kneeling. Like that picture isn't fake. That was the moment. That was the actual moment.
Yeah.
And so, and I was just like, what? And then he's like, will you marry me? And I'm like, and in my mind, I'm like, we're already getting married. This is an engagement photo shoot.
And I had asked her before that. I had called her father. And I called her brothers. Her mother.
You got all, you even got mommy's permission before she passed.
I have, before she did.
So that means you have been planning that for a while, because this was before she passed. She passed in April.
I wanted to make sure I had to, got a chance to ask, her. I wanted to ask her, so I did.
And so he proposed, and it was a beautiful moment, like one of the best moments of my life. And so and I looked at the ring. It was, I don't have it on now, but it was bling bling, and I was like, he did good. It was my personality. It was definitely a ring that I would have chosen for myself. And so I'm like, okay, he did good. So we I think we went to like Red Robin or something after.
Yeah, we went out
to eat with our friends just to celebrate afterwards, and it was just a really low key, but it was a very, very good moment.
It was. And so that's what that part came. So there were obviously, as you can see, a lot of high moments in our relationship, that we had. Now let's talk about some of the lower parts where it was like, because here's the deal. I didn't tell anybody about us getting married.
Oh, that.
I didn't tell anybody because
well, not just that. He barely even told anybody that we were in a relationship.
Yeah, I didn't tell anybody we were in a relationship.
Not that he was hiding.
I wasn't hiding it. It was just, I like to, I think I was just trying to be private. Because even at work, I don't talk about.
No, he doesn't even have pictures of me or anything. Like, he's very private.
But with that being said, though, it was just like, people thought, they're like, you're just getting married. Like, I'm just hearing about this person and now we getting married.
Literally, people didn't even know that we had been dating almost 2 years.
We were dating for 2 years prior to.
People didn't know that.
They thought I just met this girl and now I'm getting married.
He just met me a few months ago and then.
They're like, are you sure this is really what you want to do?
Yeah, because it was before we decided we were getting married. I think it had only, when everyone met me, it had only been a few months. So then to know a few months later we were getting married, it seemed like, are you sure about this? You guys hadn't, my family and everyone knew, but he was a little bit more private. And I guess because of his past experiences, he didn't know if they would, trust his decisions and judgments.
No, not so much judgment. Well, no.
That's relative.
Well, let's put it this way. Everybody that I dated were either very intelligent, very attractive, and overall really good people. It's just that it didn't work out with me. So let's be clear with that. I never dated just anybody.
I'm not talking about
you know,
judgment
but like,
as far as who the person is, but judgment as far as are you sure?
Yeah, as far as like
know,
if I'm sure, you know, that this is, you know, the person and seeing how fast in their minds it was occurring, it seemed as if I were not making a smart choice on that end. Because with my family, everybody, you know, very smart, everybody, you know, they just want to make sure
that
you know what you're doing before you make choices. And so because of that, I was always like, I need to make sure I know my answers for here, there, that, and the other.
So we were like, I had already booked the venue.
Yeah.
And if you know wedding planners, you know women that plan weddings, when you book
I've never done
venue,
any of this before.
When you book that venue, that's it. There's no like change. You may be able to change the date, maybe, but you're gonna have to pay out more money. But if you decide not to, that deposit that you put down, you lose it. That's just it. It's one and done. Like that's all. So he comes back to me because at this point he hadn't even told me that he really hadn't even told his family about the wedding. Like, and I'm like, James, they need to know they're gonna be a part of the wedding. Like, you need to tell them. And he was just digging his feet about it. And so I'm like now putting pressure on him because because when they do finally find out, they're asking, you know, can you change the date? This, that. Because remember, you waited until like the last waking moment to tell them. So at that point, they were trying to, you know, make sure their schedules fit, make sure they can, you know, make it and all that, which was fair. That's fair. So they're asking if they could change the date, if we can change. And I'm like, no, we can't, because this is booked. It's been booked. This is what it is. And so it was a little irritating to me at the time because I'm like, just tell your family. But I didn't realize that at the time it was because he was battling, you know, just having his independence in that way.
And understanding how to communicate.
Yes, because his communication was very bad at that time. So I think it was like having his independence, learning how to communicate, learning how to do all that stuff. And I think that was just, it came in hot and fast for him. So it was, at the time, I didn't realize that. Now looking back, I'm like, oh, okay, that was what was happening. At the time, I'm like, you don't want to get married, so just let me know.
I'm like, wait, that's not true. It's just, there were things that I had to overcome, you know, and so, and if you, and when you get married, and you're going to learn a lot about the people that you're the person you're married to, and you know, things will be a lot more clear, which is why it's also important to be able to learn as much as you can prior to getting married, you know. But ultimately, the veil's not going to be completely open.
No, I don't think you're going to learn. You're not going to learn about each other until you're like in it. Like that's like, I love what Viola Davis said on Black Love. We watched this show or it used to come on called Black Love. And Viola Davis and her husband was on there, and she said, you really are not married. You get married at the altar, yes, but you're really not like married until you look at this person and it's like, I want to kill them. Like, honestly, that's probably when you know that you're married. Like, honestly, you're not going to really know.
Because it's not all sunshines and rainbows, man.
But it's rewarding. It's rewarding.
But it takes a lot of work to get to that place, and then when I say takes a lot of work, sometimes that work is just, you know, a lot of sweat, a lot of tears, you know, but you get there, and you know, so long as you're both working on it, you know. But with that being said, you know, then came
the wedding. So we can fast forward to the wedding. So the wedding was a beautiful week.
It was beautiful.
It was so beautiful. It was
unreal, because you have to understand, it felt like it took forever to get to the wedding. But once the wedding happened,
it was so fast.
It just passed so quickly. It was like, what?
Because you moved.
Yeah.
He had moved a few weeks before the wedding. He got his new job. He had moved a few weeks before the wedding. I moved because I was living with my roommate. So he had moved into our apartment. Then we had to move me into the apartment. And then and I think that was like all in the same week.
It was a lot.
It was like within the same week or two before the wedding, by the way. So it was like a lot of it was a lot of moving pieces happening, so it was very busy during that time. So, and then the wedding came. And so we had to get there a few days early so that we can, tie up all the loose ends.
In Chicago during Lollapalooza.
Yeah, I didn't.
If any of you guys have ever been to Chicago during Lollapalooza,
it's a mess. And I'm from Chicago, but to be honest with you, I never did. No, see, the thing was where our wedding was. It was outside of Chicago, and you had to travel through Chicago to get to the other side of it. So I never really did that during Lollapalooza all the years that I lived there. So it didn't affect me. You just knew like, okay, downtown is crowded during this time because of Lollapalooza, but it's no sweat off your back. It just means it's a bunch of people downtown. But you didn't really realize it until you're like going past downtown and having to drive through it like, oh, this is bad. It was bad. It was like the traffic was insane.
Yeah.
So you're adding all of that, but overall, the wedding was a very
amazing
experience. We had a good time.
When I saw her walk down that aisle,
he cried, which I was happy about because I was like, "You was boohooing at your sister's wedding. You better cry." That's what I know.
Man, she looked so beautiful. It was incredible. As soon as the door opened, they opened up the doors for a while. Though.
Yeah, it was open for a while.
But it also really played into what the song was.
It was a moment.
It was a beautiful moment. And then she walked down the aisle, and I teared up.
No, it wasn't a tear. It wasn't a tear. You cried.
And of course, we were down there, and it was a really wonderful experience. And of course, we said our vows, which I said some really.
Everyone was crying during his vows.
Man,
no one cried during mine.
But it was hers.
I should have said mine first. He said that they were meaningful.
They were.
I thought they were meaningful, and I took time. He said his vows on the fly, which it doesn't mean that they're not meaningful. I'm just saying that
I do. The thing is,
on the fly,
I don't know how to.
Actually sat and wrote mine.
Yeah, I can't write my vows out because I just can't put myself in the mindset that I'll be in when it's happening.
Have to be on the fly.
So when it was finally time to say my vows or whatever, I was like, man, God, let me say something nice.
No, you had to
I knew what I was feeling, but I didn't know what I was going to say. So when I was saying it was literally me just saying, it was just coming. It was just coming. It was really, really.
Yeah, he had everybody crying.
It was nice.
It was beautiful. It was. I just can't say that enough. That it was really beautiful. And then, and then of course it was just happily ever after. That was actually our theme, royal wedding, happily ever after. So it was, and let's be clear, happily ever after, not like skipping off in the sunset or nothing like that. Let's be clear, because that's not marriage. But it was happily ever after for us. Like it was, all these years. We're going on 7 years this year.
7 years.
And 7 is the number, according to the Bible, of perfection.
Yes.
So I expect a really, really good year this year.
Yeah,
So it's but yeah, it's going on 7 years now, and it's been, it's had its ups, it had its downs, but it's been a blast. Time.
It has, and it's always nice to be able to just have somebody you can really truly be 100% yourself around. I think that had I settled, I feel as if I would have felt as if something was always missing. It's like, even if you can make yourself happy, because we don't believe in soulmates. I believe that anybody can have the capacity and the ability.
You can do life with anyone.
To do life, right.
That doesn't, because the reason why we don't believe that, and my thoughts is it wouldn't be people that, when their spouse die or pass away, they are able to find just as much as an enchanted love as they had before.
Yeah,
does that mean that, they have 2 soulmates or 3 or 4? I just think that we all have a capacity to love, and given the right person and the right circumstances, you can love that person for the rest of your life.
I believe that there, as much as you can do life, let's put it this way: the way I see it is, you can do life with, let's say, if there were 100 people out of a group, in a group or whatever, you could do life with, let's say, 75 of those out of 100, right? However, of the 75 that you could genuinely do life with and be happy, I'd say probably maybe 10 of those people are people who feel like they just fit. And that's rare, is when you can find somebody who feels like they just fit
and that you
everything.
can do, you can do life with them. Like you can, and I think it's something beyond just a soulmate in that's enchanted to me. It's like literally I can do life. I'm choosing to do life with you.
Yeah.
It's like, that's what it is. It's a choice. Like I'm choosing to do life with you because I can see that life can be great with you. So I'm choosing to do just that. So I think that after all these years, we're still choosing. Like in my vows, I said that he was God's choice because he was. God told me he was my husband. I didn't say he was my husband.
I believe
I didn't want no husband.
Yeah, I believe that God definitely told me that, she was going to be my wife. I understand that for some of you who do not believe in God, that's okay. 100% we understand it. But for us, as being a Christian individual, the fact that I saw that picture the very first time I saw you, and for something to just in my mind immediately say, that's your wife. And mind you, at that time, I was not I wasn't trying to be in a relationship with her. It wasn't even about being attracted to her. It was only at that time, especially, just trying to find somebody just to talk to. And then to have that thought just get right into my head, like, that's your wife. That couldn't have been, and then for you to then turn out to be my wife.
Right. Because if you would ask me that,
you wouldn't have.
I don't know.
As a matter of fact, a lot of her friends had no idea. They didn't think that they were like, how did you two people end up being together? She was different.
That's what I'm saying. It was literally, that was a Hail Mary, honestly. That came literally from what I believe is God. Because it wasn't, and it was just at the right time. Like I was gonna need a rock in my life. And because I met him before my mom got sick. So it was at that time, God knew that I was going to
the things that she's gone through. I'm very proud of you, to be honest with you. You've been through a lot, and you certainly have grown a lot, and I'm proud of you for that.
You have to.
Yeah, you're right. I've definitely done a lot of growing too, and so with that, we're going to wrap it up here, but I will probably come up with another video later because you've heard a little bit of my dating life when I was talking about it's not traditionally like how some people are, being able to talk to any and every girl. We're going to talk about that in another video because it's very interesting, what I have to share.
Thanks for joining us and hearing our story, and we'll be talking to you soon.
You take care. Thank you for joining us again. Like, share, subscribe. Please share this with other people. But take care. Bye-bye.